Hey there YouTube, Mighty Ferret here with the technically not the first nerd news of 2014 because this is a special, a sort of year in review, just a look back to see what happened in 2013. Now obviously I'd only started doing this channel in September, October, and obviously didn't have a lot of videos then, so yeah, that's obviously this first year in review is going to be a bit lacking. It's only what I'm going to be able to remember of 2013, which, believe it or not, is not a lot. Well, let's see now. We had the E3 and the Xbox One marketing fiasco of pretty much them announcing that it was going to be always online, and then you have to connect once every 24 hours, and the network going up in arms about it. Then they backtracked, and a petition came online for those to come back, which obviously fell through because I don't actually think there's that many people in the world that are insane. We also had obviously the release of the Xbox One and the PS4. Just in November, just past there. Obviously, that was quite a big thing. Obviously, I can't really comment on it because still early days. Obviously, they've both had their problems. Like, apparently there was a PlayStation problem with freezing up, and apparently there's been problems with the Xboxes overheating. Surprise, surprise. So yeah. We also obviously had the 50th anniversary special of Doctor Who. Now, as you can see, I'm only in November here. Obviously, these won't be in order. So yeah, we had 50th anniversary special of Doctor Who, and it was revealed that, Gallifrey stands. So Stephen Moffat has completely rewritten the chronology of Doctor Who because Gallifrey was lost in the Time War. Not anymore. So that will be interesting to see appearing in the 2014 storylines. Which comes to my next point. We also had the Christmas special of Doctor Who, which introduced Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. It was also revealed that Peter Capaldi is not the 12th Doctor, but is in fact the 14th, because chronologically they are counting John Hurt as regeneration and David Tennant's double regeneration, which I thought they would, because it's still regeneration energy, it still counts. So yeah, and hopefully we'll see more of Peter Capaldi as the Doctor in 2014. Now, when I missed the regeneration, because on Christmas Day my parents watched Downton. The TV automatically switches over. It's switched over right at the point of regeneration, so yeah, they owe me a DVD. And if they see this, yes, I'm holding you to that. So yeah, we also had I'm trying to think of big nerd things that have happened, because a lot of the news lately has been dominated obviously with like the death of Margaret Thatcher, Nelson Mandela, the banking crisis and stuff in Britain. We've also had the advent of 3D printed firearms. Now, this is cool, but also quite scary. Because, well, in Britain, obviously we don't have the open carry laws that you Americans do. We can't just run around with a Smith and Wesson. I don't know guns, because like I said, in Britain we don't know our guns, but we can't just run around like Smith and Wessons or Colt 45s or Barrett 50 cals. Although I'm hoping that if the laws are strict enough in America that you can't run around with Barrett 50 cal, I'll just strap to your back either. So yeah, there's that. Now, just excuse me a second. There we go. Sorry, it's just the lighting was a bit off on camera, and like you'd probably noticed the change there. This just looks slightly better, kind of yellow, but I think that's just the way the room is. So yeah, we also had like the 3D printed firearms. Like I know people with 3D printers, so it's pretty much the release of 3D printed firearms and the fact that you can get those files online. Obviously, I'm not going to post a link because I don't advocate just some random with a 3D printer printing off a firearm. In fact, if you are just random and you print it off, something tells me like either you're like military personnel, or you're in America, you're licensed, or you need mental counselling. To be honest, so yeah, there's that. We also had the first 3D printed hamburger. Yeah, lab grown meat. Actually grew a burger made out of beef. In a lab. We actually had grown meat, which could solve the hunger crisis across the world, but it cost, I think it was $25,000 to print, which is the most expensive McDonald's ever. And I don't know if they've cleared it for human consumption yet, because there was worries that because it was grown, it could be like out with stem cells, which is the same things that can cause cancer if not done right. It could be highly carcinogenic, and well, yeah. We also had in 2013. Not much. There was the release of the Loot Crate started finally shipping to Canada, Australia, and Britain, but I'm obviously covered that in the Loot Crate unboxing videos. So yeah. Nerd stuff that I can remember from 2013 was actually pretty thin, because a lot of the news was dominated with other things. Yeah, obviously there's that. So all I can say is hopefully coming to 2014, we get much more sci-tech news and fandom news and game news, like from E3, Insomnia, Gamescom, PAX, and I'm pretty sure there's another one down in London, which I honestly can't remember. Yeah, because I know there's Insomnia and then there's another one in Britain. I know that, but I can't remember for the life of me what it is, which is really bad. So yeah, in other news, going away from the nerd news to the fandom news, obviously I every week announce what conventions are in that week. However, as it is the 3rd of January when I'm recording this, and the 4th of January when this goes up, there's probably not a lot. Oh, I tell a lie, that is actually a shit ton. Wait, hold on, I just need to check. Are we recording the next one on the 10th? Wow, there is actually quite a few anime cons. So we have Otakon Vegas. Now, obviously, this is in Las Vegas, Nevada, from the 3rd to the 5th. Now, I've actually heard, I don't know why, but I've heard of Otakon. I don't know, because it says Otakon Vegas. I'm wondering if there's multiple ones across the board. Otakon, official website. Info, help with event channel. Home. Okay, the site is actually just saying Otakon Vegas. I don't know if it's like a bigger version of Otakon. You'll have to let me know, because I'm sure I've heard of Otakon before and it wasn't in Vegas. It was like in Los Angeles or something. We also have Anime Zap in East Peoria, Illinois, 3rd of the 5th. Tayucon, Mesa, Arizona, 3rd of the 5th. Sakaname in Sacramento, California. That would obviously explain the SAC. I was wondering what that was. Between the 3rd and the 5th. SakoshiCon Destination Anime in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, 3rd of the 5th. Minicon in Plantation, Florida, 4th. Jacksonville Anime Day in Jacksonville, and the 5th. Ichibicon in Concord, North Carolina, is that NC? On the 9th to 12th. Anime Los Angeles, 10th to 12th. If you have to get me to tell you what city that is, then clearly you don't know that Los Angeles is a city, and clearly you've never heard of Hollywood. There's HanCon in Kansas City, KotoriCon in Sewell. AkumaCon is next week. So yeah, the AkumaCon is the start of the next week's one. That's the 17th to the 19th. So obviously there'll be more next week's one when I finally start getting into this properly. That's the anime conventions. Obviously I do sci-fi, games, comics, furry, horror, literature, steampunk. If I don't mention your particular fandom here, it's either I don't know about it, I can't get information on it, or it's too freaking weird to mention. Like Trekkie, specifically Trekkie. I don't know where to find information on that. Brony, don't know how to find information on that. I don't know. Latex, probably a bit too weird for me to be on this channel. So sci-fi, you've got ShadowCon between the 3rd and the 4th, so that'll be ending the day that this goes up. Also EvilCon between the 3rd and the 5th. That's in Tampa, Florida. That actually sounds like quite a fun con I'd like to go to. There's also DarkCon, Illogicon, RustyCon, MarsCon. Oh wait, sorry, RustyCon is next week's one. Like I use a site called upcomingcons.com. Just Google upcoming anime conventions and you can get the information for these and probably ones that I've missed. See, this is also something that I am thinking of maybe cutting from from these videos, because I always seem a bit awkward in this. Like, games conventions. We have got MagFest, VGC, ShadowCon, and Minicon again. Minicon is a one-day convention. Is that sort of like the MCM Glasgow? That's the south, which means Glasgow would be that way. I don't know what it... Actually, wait a minute. That's Selkirk. Means that's the south. So Glasgow would actually be that way. It sounds like it's covering multiple things. So I'm thinking that might be the Plantation, Florida version of MCM Glasgow. Obviously not done by MCM though. And yeah, so those are between the 2nd and the 5th is MagFest, and then there's like 3rd, 4th, and 4th. Comic conventions. We've got EvilCon again, and Minicon again. We also have Victoria Comic Con in Victoria, Texas, which will be going on at the day when the next video goes up. Furry conventions. According to this site, there's none this week. I do need to check that, but I think that's right because most of the furry conventions are in the summer. It's because it's part of the fandom that I'm in. I don't know the second dates these. There's Convergence in Melbourne. So yeah. So pretty much just one in Australia and then that's it this week. Huh. Fair enough. I do know for a fact that that's wrong because those ones that are on the site that I use for the rest of the conventions are all in America, apart from two, three, one in Sweden and two in Canada, and I know for a fact there's British ones in there. So horror conventions, we've also got Evil Con again, and that's it this week for horror. Literature, there's no literature. In fact, there's one literature this month between the 17th and the 19th, and that's RustyCon, and then there's no more for till March. Obviously, this site's probably needing updated, but. And then Steampunk, we've got DarkCon and HRM's Steampunk Symposium. So yeah, the conventions are a bit short this time of year. If you think of any conventions that I don't know about, let me know once again. Obviously, make sure they're family-friendly conventions, because I know there is some conventions out there that are kind of adult. So yeah, I will see you next week in the nerd news. I will see you Monday for the Mighty Ferrets mod review, and I am still working on which day I want to post the Kerbal Space Program on. So yeah, I will see you then, YouTube. Peace out.